Hi, welcome to my new video. Sorry it's a bit late. I've been feeling sick. Hopefully you don't mind that. I'll be going over the themes and story of my comic Princess Ego in a hopefully educational way. I'm going to be pinning down the designs for Chad and Cael. That's the king I talked about in my previous video and the magic user who rescued him. He's kind of like a witch. They're both my friends' characters, but I got permission to use them for this story because they love me. Heart emoji! The story obviously has an effect on the character design, and I love showing characters change through costume and other design changes. It's important to note that unless this story is meant to be historically accurate, that a lot of the design is just based off of vibes. Many people much wiser than me have made essays on shape language, rules of thirds, using smalls, mediums, and bigs, making clear silhouettes, and many more things to help make your art aesthetically, perhaps even mathematically, more appealing. I won't be diving into these here because I think about a lot of these subconsciously and skip steps, much like a student too smart for their own good. I do know how to do it correctly, I simply don't have the focus to explain it. But I will leave some links to my favorite tutorials in the description that you can check out after the video, and leave a like while you're down there. I put Chad in armor closely based on my boyfriend's sketch of him. This wasn't the first attempt I had made, but I felt like I wanted to keep important elements of the design the same, so that the vibe would also be the same. I played up more of the mysterious magical beast elements of it, because this is going to be the outfit he wears from the main character Ego's perspective in flashbacks, showing him as this cold, unknowable tyrant that makes Ego look more sympathetic. In the actual story, we get to see a more stripped back and vulnerable version of Chad, questioning the reliability of the narrator. Chad's main theme, or more accurately his internal conflict, is separating his sense of self from the traumatic expectations placed on him by Ego and also just society as a whole. Mainly the expectation of being violent, mean, and uncontrollable. Most of the story focuses on this theme of deconstructing how people view themselves, and how our view of ourselves affects how we treat people. And vice versa. How we've been treated changes how we view ourselves. Obviously this is being explored in a over-the-top story, but that's still the core of it. The average person doesn't have to deal with attempted murder, feudal powers, and sorcery to realize that maybe they should go to therapy. I hope. I color him blue. You may wonder why he's blue. It's because he's magical, and meant to distance him more initially from the audience's norm. And if years of science fiction have taught me anything, it's that blue people are incredibly hot. Like if you agree, and if you disagree with that, comment explaining why. Also, he was originally blue, so I would not change that about him. He's perfect the way he is. On to Cael. Cael's a supporting character for Chad's storyline. He lives in the woods and he hates people for good reason. He's rejected a society that's repeatedly left him worse for wear, and his natural affinity for magic gets him exploited often. He brings Chad back from certain death, somewhat selfishly wanting him to be kind of a guard dog or tokening chip, similar to how other people have already treated Chad. But he quickly sees that Chad cares about him genuinely, and he isn't just repaying the debt of bringing him back to life, or giving mutual aid so he can get revenge. Chad doesn't get to connect with many people, so he loves a lot when he's able to, even if that isn't deserved. Cael wants to be fair though, and takes Chad's effort to connect with him seriously, and lets his guard down to care for Chad as a person, and not just as a means to an end. Cael's the main magic user of the story, so unfortunately he's going to be saddled with some exposition. When you have a character who's the only one qualified to talk about part of your story, you can use that to be creative in world building. You have typical mentor characters who will spell things out. Garnet with Fusion is a good example of this. Very earnest, passionate, helpful. You can also have an intentionally vague and unhelpful character. Cael would fit into that category. This restricts the audience's view of the world in a natural and compelling way, especially in stories where the focus is on the individual characters more than the world. That being said, I do like designing the magic for this story. It's all very nature themed, it's ritualistic and a little bit spooky, and it uses lots of saturated pinks and purples and blues. Basically any color except for warm reds and oranges, which are the colors I reserve for the human elements of the story, particularly the two other main characters that I've mentioned on the channel, Ego and Lawrence. There's a lot of parallels between their stories that I can't wait to get into a consumable media format. I'm hoping to get a more permanent audience hyped for it, so subscribe and I'll keep you posted on everything having to do with this story. In the meantime, I'm doing all the conceptualizing and writing now so that when I draw the comic I can focus on making the art super pretty. Just like the picture I'm making now. I wanted to draw a scene of them interacting. This is the scene where Cael is healing Chad, which is before they're super close, but it shows kind of the natural chemistry that they have, and that they're both capable of being soft and close with one another. I use a lot more of those pinks and purples and blues in this, but I also use a lot of autumn red colors and some greens just to kind of show where they are and also make a contrast between them. hope you liked the video. Leave a comment telling me your favorite part of the video and any thoughts you had. Then go to my channel and check out my other videos. I hope you have a good day. Bye!